Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Tuesday, and all of our guests today brought to you by Delaney's OK Tire in Langley, also sponsors of our inbox. As we bring in from TSN, Noodles, Jamie McLennan. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. I'm not on a moving train, so I'm very good. You'll be able to talk to me, hopefully.
Yeah, and by the way, thanks for doing this. Hey, I wanted to talk about Mark Stone. Last time I checked, leading the National Hockey League in points, and the injury history with him is pretty lengthy. What makes him such an effective hockey player? And he's not the youngest guy in the world.
Okay, so a couple things. Watching him in Ottawa for many years, and then I was just in Vegas the other day and watched him live. Two things stand out with Mark Stone. He is an unbelievable stick as far as redirecting pucks, turning pucks over, getting to the front of the net, all of that type of stuff. A lot like Joe Pavelski, I would say that. So his anticipation with his stick is unbelievable. The other thing is he's incredibly competitive. Like, this guy wants to win so bad. He's a terrific leader. If you look, and this is the weird part, I know the end of the stick. So I'm not going to call it the KNOW, but that, we're not into hockey porn here. But the end of his stick it's honest to God, it's the size of a
puck.
Yeah, honestly, it's so huge. And if you look at it, I don't know how anybody uses it, but he's got this grip on it. And he uses it for leverage, but he's got.
Jamie, this is the worst job of trying to avoid a word I've ever come across.
Listen, the word knob is a tough word.
There you go.
I'm not going to say the end of his stick, the knob of his stick, however you want to frame it. It just, if you look at Mark Stone, it's kind of like, and my buddy Ray Ferraro always uses the term unmade bed. He looks like an unmade bed. But the guy gets it done because he's not the sexiest skater, not the fastest skater. He's not the youngest guy, but he just gets it done and he competes every night. So that's what I think of when I think of Mark Stone is impressive work ethic. I will say he's got that bite like JT Miller.
Yeah.
That little bit of FU and where he comes to play every night and he gets mad and he gets irritated. But he's competing, put it that way.
Yeah, and there's the injury history there as well. It's just good on him. Hurricanes in town last night. They end up beating the Canucks 4-3 in overtime. Jamie, are they the fastest team in the National Hockey League?
I think they are. I've watched them a few times. They can move. Everybody on that roster can skate. Good skaters. They're not overly big or overly physical, but they compete hard. They do mirror their coach a lot from a competitive standpoint, and their superstars kind of fly under the radar. Like, Aho's a hell of a player, but when you think about superstar players, he just kind of is an unassuming guy, maybe because it's an unassuming market, and his flash and dash is more just his production. But they're a fast team. They work hard. They've got terrific structure, and they've got a goaltender who likes to rove and play defense, goal, you name it. I mean, that goalie he's a nightmare in the net, but he stops pucks. So, you know what? I thought the Canucks battled and got a point, and deservedly so. But man, he makes it, Kochetkov, he makes it interesting back there, doesn't he?
Well, look at the third goal last night.
Yeah.
Look at the third goal. Would you have gone out where he went out?
No, I don't think any goalie in the league would have gone out except for him and maybe Dominic Hasek, because Hasek was a guy who was extremely aggressive, and maybe Tim Thomas too. But Kochetkov, this is a guy, like, what you see is what you get from him. And, that's the good, bad. The third goal, you're right. Like, that's just it's a terrible anticipation play by him, thinking that he can make it there instead of beating a player who's at full stride. So, but he almost got it. That's the scary part. He almost got back and did the splits and got it with the right toe. But, he is a nightmare in the net. And I'm joking. I'm being facetious. He is a guy that doesn't make the same save twice, put it that way. But, man, he's got some talent back there, and he's very active.
Jamie, you've seen Jake DeBrusk play the Maple Leafs quite a bit over the years, right? He's got 0 goals, 8 games, streaky guy. Is it just a case of he's gonna get his goals? We're a little bit surprised he's got no goals in 8 games, Jamie.
Yeah, you know what? I would say settling into your new environment. We've had this chat before. Sometimes you don't hit the ground running. You're trying too hard. I think Jake is a guy who plays some really good straight line hockey. Still trying to settle in with his line mates, and I think he's trying to play responsible hockey. So not only are you trying to impress the new market, impress the new fans, impress the new organization and your teammates, but you're trying to impress your coach too. And Jake was a guy in Boston where sometimes I think his details away from the puck got away from him sometimes, and I think what he's tried to do here is be a complete player. And I've watched him. I think he's a special player. I love the signing. I think he's a terrific fit for the Canucks. But I just want to give him a little bit longer leash. I think 2 weeks from now we're having this conversation. We are going to see him break through. We are going to see a more comfortable Jake DeBrusk in his skin, in the way he plays. But I do want to give him kind of a 6-week, 2-month leash, a buffering zone when it comes to settling into a new market, because I think he deserves that. And I think he is a talented enough player that once he breaks through, then you'll start to see the floodgates open for him.
Jamie, the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup on June 24th. Now they're in Finland. I mean, they didn't have a long off season. I mean, they played a ton of hockey last year. Were you surprised they would send? I know they did it before, but that's a long way to go for a team that won a cup and played a ton of hockey last year.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I didn't like the fact that the season started with New Jersey and Buffalo over, like
Prague.
I know you're trying to grow the game, and I know the NFL's gone to London. It feels like every weekend or whatever. I just personally, I dislike it because I think it gets teams off kilter, disjointed. Ottawa went through it a couple years ago. I think it was last year. They went and played Detroit, and to me, it doesn't feel right in the middle of the season. Now you go to time change, you got to travel, and then they give you a break on the way back. And to me, it disrupts the season. And we already have a disrupted season with the Four Nations coming up. Yeah. So you've got everything condensed as it is. So I don't like it from that standpoint. And you're right, Dolly. To me, it's a lot of travel and it's a lot of work to go and play a couple games to try and grow the game. I think the game is fine. And the growth has been there organically because it has become more of a world league instead of just a North American league.
Are the Oilers going to be okay without Connor McDavid for a while? That was an innocent-looking play last night. I don't know what I haven't seen today what the prognosis is. I don't know if that's an ankle or knee or it seemed like an innocent play. It might have been a little bit of a trip. I don't know. He went down on himself, but if it's an ankle, then you hope that it's maybe just a slight sprain. I remember in the playoffs a couple of years ago, Draisaitl, that was a high ankle sprain. Like that was an ugly one. Yeah. And he fought through that. He moves at such a high rate. But I will say this: I think the Oilers, they need some adversity. The adversity to the start of their season is they look unprepared. And last night I watched them play. They were completely out to lunch, from the goaltender right to Darnell Nurse and Ekholm and Bouchard, right up front. And the only guy I feel bad for at the most right now is Zach Hyman, who I think has 27 or 8 shots on goal. A lot like Jake DeBrusk, just hasn't found the back of the net, but not from a lack of trying. That being said, the Oilers have some depth. They've got some talent there. But they've got to get their act together. 4-5-1 hasn't been good enough in an ultra-competitive league now where, outside of San Jose, everybody else feels that they can play in the playoffs here this year. So they got a tall task, whether it's going to be with Connor. It sounds like he'll be left home for at least the Nashville game. And then I think they have a road game after, but it's close. I think it's Calgary or something like that. So if he misses a week, then maybe it's more an opportunity for some young guys to push through, or a guy like Jeff Skinner and to continue to develop his game with the Oilers. Jamie, thanks for this. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I guarantee you Jake DeBrusk will have scored several times by the time we chat next.
We'll hold you to that, and we'll continue the Mark Stone conversation as well.
Next time I'm on, at least have a picture of it.
Okay, yes. It makes sense.
People can go, what the hell are you talking about, Jamie? Right?
Hockey aficionados, they knew what you were talking about, Jamie. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've noticed it before. I was trying to be kind.
Beautiful. Thanks, Jamie.
See you guys.
I appreciate it.